Before we begin today's show, we pause to honor a life that mattered. This live stream is sponsored by Support Our Shields, a mission-driven organization preserving the legacy of our fallen officers. Please take a moment to reflect as we share the story of a hero gone too soon.
Brandon's loss is deeply felt by his family and his colleagues and the citizens in the community that he served. His bravery and selflessness will never be forgotten, and his legacy will continue to inspire those who follow in his footsteps.
For them to go out there every day and not to know if they're coming back, we just have to support them and give them what they need to continue to protect us as citizens.
Deputy Sykes was a United States Army veteran and had served with the Columbia County Sheriff's Office for over 6 years. His wife, Amber, also serves with the Sheriff's Office, and together they exemplified a shared dedication to their communities. He is also survived by his daughter, parents, 3 brothers, nieces, and a nephew.
This is who Brandon is, and this is the people that he stood for and stood behind, day in and day out.
Deputy Brandon Sykes, your watch has ended, but your service and sacrifice will forever be remembered.
Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. You guys, today, I have such an amazing treat for you. We're going to have a special guest. My guest today is Linda B. She is from the YouTube channel Chat With Me, Linda B. She is a believer. She is a wife. She is a mother, an aspiring author, a screenwriter, and a content creator. Linda's show is right here on YouTube. I've met Linda in person and it was such a warm and friendly meeting. But I want to tell you a little bit about her. Her purpose in life is to shine light in this dark world as it pertains to religion and politics. So we have very similar channels. She also wants to spread the truth and expose the lies of what's going on politically and religiously from a biblical worldview. So please welcome my sister to the show, Miss Linda B. Hey, girl.
Oh, April, thank you so much for having me on your show. I am honored. I've been watching you for a while, along with Vince.
You are so welcome. Listen, when we met in right here in Georgia, it was like old friends catching up. You looked amazing. You and your beautiful family was there. And I was just so glad that we had a chance to meet in person. And so this collaboration is a long time coming. So thank you so much for joining us today. I've got so many amazing questions that I want to ask you. So let's first start off by talking and just going straight to the elephant in the room. What made you go public with your conservative world view? Like, was there a moment or a story that made you say, I've got to start speaking out? What was the turning point for you?
Okay, I'm going to try to keep this brief and not too long. Okay. So, of course, like most people, you start off, Democrat. My family votes Democrat. I started off voting Democrat. And I just didn't think about it. I was ignorant to politics. I just really didn't look into it. And then as time went by, I got saved and I still voted Democrat. And then I remember, thinking, wow, it looks like the Democrats are involved in some things and they promote the alphabet lifestyle. So, earlier in the 2000s, I began to vote Republican. But then the media demonized President Trump so much, okay, and I believed it. That was a problem. I believed the lies of the media about him, that he was racist, he's a misogynist, and all the horrible things, right? And so then I voted for Hillary in 2016.
No.
Oh, woo! Now that I know what I know now, I'm so glad she did not win. But I went to bed so upset that Donald Trump had won. And in 2020, I voted for Biden. I call him Jim Crow Joe. Biden and Kamala Harris. And that, ooh, okay. Then about late 2022, early part of 2023, I was looking, at some point, they were indicting President Trump. And it's something, this was spiritual. It's like I was literally outside of my body. I looked at the TV, and it's like I didn't say anything, but instinctively I knew something wasn't right. And shortly thereafter, after that, I began to pray like really, really hard, really hard. I asked God to show me the truth, the truth. I said, I want to know the truth about everything. I started naming former politicians. I named the Bushes, the Bidens, Obamas, Clintons, Trump. I said, God, I want to know the truth. And when I started reading my Bible shortly thereafter, I was reading about the Apostle Paul and how he was in prison. And I could sense the Lord, I can't describe it, saying to me that everything about Donald Trump, all the cases and indictments, they are hoaxes. They are not true. And that literally happened. And that is what changed, because I knew it was God, and I don't question God. I don't really ask why. I just do it or believe what he says. And then shortly after that, I was watching LFR Family, and has a coaching segment where he coaches people. And then I just saw it and just joined, and then started the channel.
Really? So basically, you had this turning point experience where you're seeing these things happen in the culture, you're starting to
Mhm,
question things, but it really was another fellow YouTuber that kind
mhm.
of made you feel like maybe you should kind of start talking about this stuff publicly and start your own channel.
Well, I didn't even give it much thought. It was really just something I saw on YouTube that he was coaching, and then I just did it by the grace of God. And to me, it's a God thing, because like out of nowhere, I started praying about even former politicians, unlike most Black folks, I never voted for Obama, not one time. The Lord showed me immediately when I saw his face. I was like, oh, what is
Something
that
right in
going
the
on here?
milk.
But it's weird because it doesn't happen to me all the time. It's not like I know everything about everybody all the time. And I didn't know what it was about him. I just knew it wasn't right. I didn't know any specifics. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, I'm always just interested in finding, what brought there's so many gifted content creators that I watch on YouTube, and I always want to know what is their origin story, like what made you start doing this, cuz as
Mhm.
you know, it when you're a Black American and then you hold the conservative values, you can do that, but you better keep it a secret. Thou shalt not talk about it. Thou shalt not be
Mhm.
public with it, and definitely
Mhm.
thou shalt not start a YouTube channel. These are just like the 10 commandments of being Black in America. And speaking of being Black in America, we're both females,
Mhm.
and you're a mom and you're a wife, and as you know, I talk on this channel a lot about the culture and Black women. And I said, if I get Linda B on here, I have got to ask her about Jasmine Crockett. As you know, she's making headlines, but she's making headlines for like her combative behavior in Congress. Some people are calling it an embarrassment. Then you've
Mhm.
got this whole other side of Black women that are like saying, nope, she's just standing up for herself, and we need more women like that. Where do you land on this? I want you to help our audience to understand, what are we dealing with when it comes to Jasmine Crockett, and is this good for the culture?
First of all, let me just say it is not good for the culture, in my opinion. In my opinion, the Democrats do what the Democrats always do, and my nickname for them is Demon Rats. Okay, they really should get like their mascot should be a rat with horns on it. But what I'm saying is that they epitomize the all the negative stereotypes of Black women. I mean, she's got this horrendous wig on where the edges of the wig are not even fully glued down half the time. Her eyelashes look like treaded tires that you find on the highway. I mean, and then she's literally talking. I mean, in one interview, and I'm just mimicking her. I don't talk like this. She said, baby, baby. I said, oh my word.
Baby,
Precious
baby.
girls. To me, they always do this with black women on the left. They pick on us. They get women that I'm just going. I don't mean to be mean, but I'm being truthful. People like Stacey Abrams. They get women like Jasmine Crockett. They get women like Simone Sanders Townsend. They make sure you have no hair, or your lashes look crazy, your hair looks crazy, or you epitomize that ghetto Shanae Shaniqua, Liquisha Netta, whatever it is, Shakaranda, whatever. They don't get women like you, me, Candace Owens. On the conservative side, you see a vast difference in how we are being portrayed and presented. So it is not good for the culture. I say they do this because they pick on us. And that statue, don't even get me started about that 12-foot statue in the middle of Times Square of some anonymous black woman with her hands on her hip. She's overweight and she's frowning.
Let's talk about it since you brought it up. I think we need to have a discussion about it. I haven't covered it yet. But when they unveiled that, the first thing I said was, who asked for this? And I saw a comment on social media where they're saying, well, we've got plenty of statues of tall white men, and we know that all men are not tall and white. I'm like, yeah, but where are the statues of the short, pudgy ones? They don't exist because no one wants to overly glorify and celebrate imagery that is less than appealing. So if that's the standard, why do we have to see ourselves enshrined as an angry, high calorie black woman frowning with no bra on? Like, why is that us?
And then the outfit was terrible. Don't even, okay, the outfit, it was not feminine. If you look at the outfit, it was not feminine. And everything about it is like all the negative stereotypes. And it was done, from what I'm reading, a black man in the UK, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And so it looks like when you look at these things, and then you have some women that are happy about it. They're happy about Jasmine Crockett. They're happy about the statue. They're taking pictures in front of the statue. A lot of women, not all, but a lot of women on the left don't realize that we are being mocked. We are being picked on, and it is not fair. The media in general, I've noticed for a long time, not just political leaders, but you can turn on the TV, look at a Gatorade commercial. Everybody in the Gatorade commercial is slim and healthy. And then they got this 400 plus pound black woman with plaits sticking all over the place. She literally does this move where she goes upside down with her. I said, well, at least she's agile. And she, with her legs. I said, now this is picking on us. This really
It's a
is.
Gatorade commercial?
Yes. You can look at it after we get off of this, and it is horrendous. And I've been seeing this for years now. And I am just like, you know what? Not all of us look like that. Not all of us act like that. And I make sure that I cover things that are going on wrong in the Black community, but I also want to make it very clear. Not all of us behave in such a way. Just because you see a lot of clips of girls in bonnets in Walmart starting a fight does not mean that all of us behave in such a manner. Okay, that is what they're putting out there. It's like the worst part of each group is what's glorified. They don't do videos or anything viral on women like you and me. You know, it's the Shaniqua Nettas and all of that out there in the bonnet in the parking lot fighting.
Right. It's interesting that you bring that up because, like you said, I do believe they're making a concerted effort to exploit the worst of us. Our good friend Vince Everett Ellison, he's the one who asked me if I knew who Lisa Blunt Rochester was. And I said, no, I've never heard of her. And he
Mhm.
said, well, she is a Democrat senator, not state senator, a U.S. senator, and very regal, very poised, very articulate looking. He says, but the left will never highlight and put the spotlight on her because it's the matted wig, caterpillar lash type women is who they want to elevate. And then that got me to thinking, you and I both know that if you are conservative, instead of them celebrating the virtues that we are bringing to politics, what they will do is call you names such as a coon and a
Mhm.
sellout and hurl all of these different types of accusations at you. Have you experienced that? And if so, how do you deal with that? And why do you think that those labels still hold some sort of power over some people?
Well, I believe it's because they're stuck on the Democrat plantation and they've been brainwashed to believe that is the Republicans who are the racist ones. I mean, when you look at the media is controlled by the left. It's controlled by the demon rats. It's controlled not just news media, you're talking Hollywood, the music industry, print, anything that you can Google online. I even say that fact check organizations even go left, like Snopes, PolitiFact, factcheck.org. And you're seeing everything is just like the Democrats really control it. They control the urban areas. They run DC. And look at the political, campaign that was launched against President Trump. And by the grace of God, he still prevailed. So I believe that they just believe the lies. They've been brainwashed. I was brainwashed at one point. And it's hard also in the Black community. I see this trend, unfortunately, not in all parts of the Black community. I can't say that enough, but a significant part of the Black community in America does not take accountability. So when something negative or bad is pointed out, there's a saying, a hit dog will holler. Instead of you just saying, okay, let me just, take a step back and do some self-reflection. Let me look in the mirror and, see, why am I getting so upset? I mean, is this really me? Just do an accountability check. And that no one wants to do that. Instead, they lash out at someone who they know, if they really would stop letting their emotions control them, they realize that we are telling the truth. And I have experienced people calling me a coon, a sellout, Miss Candace Owens. How much they paying you? You just keep cashing that conservative check.
Like, where are these direct deposits?
I want to know. I said I wish they would. I want a check. I want another check.
Listen, I'm like, wait a minute. You mean I can get paid for saying what I actually believe? I'm doing this all wrong.
I know that's right. Tell me what I need to do, girl.
Listen, you down there in your county and I'm up here in my county. I'm like, if the GOP is paying attention, they owe us a lot of money. And
Yes.
I'm not trying to be prideful, but I do believe it was the hard, grueling work of independent content creators like you and myself that were
Mhm.
out here exposing so much of the foolishness that allowed a lot of women and men who look like us to be like, wait a minute. These
Mhm.
ladies are not crazy. It's something to
Mhm.
what they are saying, and I
Mhm.
believe the more that we talk about these things, they're going to continue to bleed votes. They're going to continue to bleed
Mhm.
that loyalty that is the linchpin that grounds them and has such a stronghold in the Black community. I like how you brought up accountability, and I
Mhm.
also like how you brought up the emotional aspect. And
Mhm.
that is a perfect transition. I wanted to have just a really quick conversation about
Mhm.
feminism and the
Mhm.
family breakdown, because at one point in this country, when the two parent household family paradigm was the norm, we seemed to be able to regulate our emotions better. Women kind of understood that they were different from men, and men did a very good job of kind of keeping order. Fast
Mhm.
forward to today though, a lot of women today say, I don't need a man. And
Mhm.
then we wonder why the family structure is crumbling. What role do you think feminism played in the destruction specifically of American families and then the Black family?
Oh, a significant role. I did a video, and I saw you had done a video on Nikki Giovanni, and she came to
Mhm.
prominence in the 1960s. And if you look at the feminism movement in the 1960s, it was having a negative impact upon all women. But before the 1960s, Black women were married at a higher rate than even white women. The families were together, but what happened was they incentivized being a single mother. They brought up this whole you don't need a man. There was the alphabet community starting to make a rise. This just didn't happen when Barack Obama came onto the scene. This was happening in the 60s and of course prior, but it really became full blown, and you saw women burning their bras. You saw all of this, and like I say, the welfare state was integral in causing people to stay away from the father of their children so they can get government assistance. And I told Vince this. I said, the first time I saw you, I did not, of course, I did not know who he was, but he was talking about Martin Luther King Jr. And I was saying to him, and I told him in an interview on my show, I said, who this? Who is this talking about MLK? Wait a minute now.
Listen, they'll cut you over that MLK content.
I know he just if it hurt you, if it hit you, just say ouch. But I remember looking at that, and before I remember thinking something happened after the civil rights movement, but I couldn't connect the dots and how it profoundly has to do with the Demon Rat Party again, because they were the ones that instituted the welfare state and the man in the house clause and all of that. And then after, like in the 80s and 90s, you saw this huge shift of single parent homes, where it used to be predominantly two parent homes in the Black community. It was not just aimed at the Black family, but it has disproportionately affected us the most. And they also take advantage of using the media to make us sensitive about skin color and all of that. And I mentioned Nikki Giovanni, who was part of the alphabet community and was against marriage and all of that. You even look at BLM. It began with 3 queer Black women. Okay, so there's always been this way of thinking, and there was communist training in the 60s as well. There's been a whole bunch of social re-engineering that caused us to go down a path that I personally believe is anti-God at the very core of it. It's not about equality. It is about turning us away from God. They label it as equality. They sell it to us as equality, but it is really about renouncing God.
Right. All of these different categories and constructs are just various ways that Marxism rears its ugly head. I was
Mhm.
earlier, I was on an interview on PBS, and there
Mhm.
was I'm not a feminist, and I'm not ashamed to say that. And I was on there with a feminist, and it was just so interesting to see how much emphasis they place on whatever little intersectionality box that they check. It's like they only see the world from that lens. So every answer that she gave was from the lens of her feminist, womanist worldview.
Mhm.
And I mean, we couldn't even talk about immigration without the feminism creeping in. And I said, isn't it funny how Marxism, which is a fancy word, Marxism, in my opinion, is nothing but an anti-God, anti-Christian worldview that seeks to have us focused on these intrinsic realities that none of us can actually control, such as gender and ethnicity, and it seeks to divide. So
Mhm.
that with all of those categories and constructs, at the end of the day, we're all in our own separate corners. There's no national unity. God
Mhm.
is disavowed because you can't have God in that worldview. And
Mhm.
then it's just chaos that results. Now, speaking of anti God worldviews,
Mhm.
speaking a little bit about Marxism, a
Mhm.
lot of my audience may or may not know, particularly the ones who are newly introduced to you and your content, may not know that you were once a proud member of a Greek lettered sorority. You don't have to give the name of the sorority. However, these sororities, as you know, they are deeply respected in the Black community. However, the more you learn about them, you see that they kind of have Marxist anti God roots. What was it for you that attracted you to the organization? And then what was it for you that caused you to question and be like, I don't think this is what I thought it was?
Well, okay. So what attracted to me to it, and while I was in high school, I grew up in Macon, Georgia, and the high school that I was attending had a Teens Against Pregnancy program. It was called TAPS, and it was sponsored by AKA. And me and my friends joined it. So that was my first introduction into the sorority. And also my cheerleading coach was a member of the sorority as well. And that was my first introduction to it. And then I started dating this guy, and he, was a member of one of the Greek letter organizations. And he wanted me to be Delta initially. And then he said, no, I think you should be an AKA because my, organization and yours is very close. And he's not an alpha. He belonged to Kappa, but and then I said, okay, well, I was already introduced and familiar with AKA, and I like the colors, and so I just leaned that way because of that early introduction when I was in high school through the TAPS program, and
Let me ask
then
you this before you continue. The TAPS program, Teens Against Pregnancy program,
yeah,
this program was sponsored by them. Can you, if you can remember,
yeah.
were they trying to push abstinence, or was it pushing abortion? Was it pushing, like, I don't know anything about it. I don't want to
Right.
assume.
It
I'm
wasn't
just
pushing
curious to
abortion.
know.
It wasn't talking about abortion. It was really just please don't get pregnant. Try to not let that happen to you.
Ah, okay, I got you. That's just a little sidebar, but please continue.
Oh no. And so, I went to this, a black college, HBCU, Fort Valley State. And then I joined the sorority eventually, and just time passed, and then I graduated. I wasn't active, but fast forward to like maybe about 2 years ago, I remember running across YouTube content where women were denouncing their sororities. I mean, I saw it, whether they were deltas or AKAs, they were denouncing it, and I could see guys. I didn't click on the ones for the fraternities, but they were also denouncing. And I didn't think anything of it. I don't do anything just because someone else is doing it. God has to tell me. And then after a while, I just started praying, God, what do you want me to do about this?
Right.
What do you
Was
want me
there
to do?
something in the testimonies that stood out to you
And
that
it
you
was
would bring up?
anti-God. It was anti-God. They said it was pagan, anti-God, and just really like satanic, really. So, and as time went on, I remember praying, and then the very next day, the first video, and now mind you, I mostly look at political content, but
Right.
when I hit my YouTube, it went directly into a church where different members of the Divine Nine, and those are black fraternities and sororities, were dancing and stepping inside of a church.
Oh, that probably was Willie Murphy's church.
It probably was. And at the time, I was like, the very first video that I said, oh Lord, okay. And then some time passed, and someone that I don't even know linked a video to my Facebook page from this podcast called Hardly Initiated. And there's this woman who denounced her sorority. And this person, I don't even know who they are. They linked it, they tagged me, my name specifically, of this person, a black female denouncing her sorority. I don't remember, she didn't say which one, but she was saying it was pagan, how if she bowed to a pagan god and all of that. And I was like, oh Lord. And
At
then
that
I
point,
said,
did you have any recollection to that's what you were involved in, or was it still just like, no, it's just a service? Like,
I
what did you?
knew, yeah, I knew that something must have been wrong because I take those things from God seriously. um he was showing me, but sometimes we act like we still, it ain't got nothing to do with me, and then sometimes we slow, I don't know. But I remember, like, okay, and then we have a group text with all of us who pledged together. There was 20 of us. One of the sorority sisters passed, but it's 19 of us on this thread. And one of my former sorority sisters who lives in Vegas, she said, "You guys, here is what we said when we pledged," and she highlighted it. And I looked it up, and it was a lot of anti-God stuff. They took scripture and replaced the word of God with AKA, taking scripture, taking God's name out, putting AKA in it. Like, you got to love the Lord. Instead of it saying love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and strength, it said love AKA. So, and when I saw that, I was like, you know what? I got it, God. I got it.
So it was very
This
clear to you.
very clear at that point. And she sent a text, and I just had to send a text right after it. God had been dealing with me prior to that. And then, she talked about how she sent a letter to the organization saying, remove my name from everything. And I did the same.
Wow, that's an amazing story. And I'm always interested in hearing how different people had their awakening moments where they felt the conviction of the Holy Spirit to exit. However, you still have many Christians that are in these Black letter organizations. They'll say, well, it's just service, it's just sisterhood, it's nothing spiritual. How would you respond to that based on your own experience and the vows or the rituals that you participated in?
I would just bring up the vows and the rituals, because if it's not satanic, why would you take scripture and literally take out the name of God and replace it with AKA? They also had something, it was called the eternal spirit.
Right.
Instead of it saying Holy Spirit, it said eternal spirit. And I did a video about this on my YouTube channel. And it says on the thumbnail, God told me to leave. And it has the AKA shield on it and Kamala Harris on it as well. But for me, it's just about, the things that we were being loyal to this. We had to do everything the same. We couldn't be unique individuals. You had to dress alike, in and of, and also a lot of times in Greek organizations, there's hazing. I didn't really experience any hard hazing, maybe a little things to embarrass you, but some that in and of itself, those characteristics are all, if you know your Bible, that is antithetical to the word of God, to embarrass someone, to make someone vow and say an oath. I mean, we had a ceremony. We said oaths. We devoted ourselves to this till our dying day. Yes, with hymns. Yes, it was a ceremony with candles and everything, and bowing involved. So if it is, to me, with that, and we bow alone to God, and in replacing the scriptures, changing those, it is clear cut in my mind. And I'm not condemning anyone who still belongs. I know someone I love very much who is still involved, and I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. And I told my line sisters, my former line sisters, and I just disavowed it, did a video and everything, and and threw away all my paraphernalia. I got rid of it all.
Right. I think it's becoming, now that social media is becoming more prevalent.
Hmm.
A lot of Christians are now, they may have pledged way back when, before social media was a thing. And this information about the rituals and the oaths and the practices that it wasn't widely known. I remember, shoot, when I was in college and I had a few friends who, were trying to get me interested in it, like we were searching for an actual book. I was like, okay, well, you want me to be a part of this organization, I kind of need to know a little bit about it. And I was like, this is just too much. I was like, I'm trying to remember organic chemistry. I can't remember all the names of all these people. And I was like, well, what value is this going to be for me later? And they were trying to help me to understand about the networking and the this.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I understand the importance of having a strong network. I think what concerns me, and I'm going to tie the participation of these Greek lettered organizations, I'm going to tie it into politics. What I've noticed, it's like the gateway drug into accepting Marxism, or not even realizing that you have effectively become a trained Marxist. If you
Mhm.
look at a lot of the national service initiatives, for example, with Delta Sigma Theta, they are very much proud supporters of Planned Parenthood.
Mhm.
They are supportive of a lot of these DEI initiatives, and they're supportive of all of these other anti-God, anti-Christian worldviews. Yet you'll have a lot of Christians who will defend their membership in these groups by saying, well, it's really about scholarship and it's really about sisterhood. And I'm like, yeah, but if you're a believer, you got a whole world of sisters in the Lord
The
that you
Lord.
can do community
Mhm.
service with.
Mhm.
Aside from your experience inside the organization,
Mhm.
was there this spiritual, is there a spiritual component that is connected to people's involvement in these groups that many Christians are neglecting?
I think there is a spiritual component that they are neglecting. I think that Satan has a way of, tricking us. Their focus, like the person that I know that I love very much, this person focuses on the good things that the sorority does, like helping people and doing things out in the community. But not all good things are God things. They're not. And they are focused on that, but still is like Saul. God told him one set of instructions, but he didn't do it all, and to make up for it, he's gonna do a sacrifice. And the Lord says obedience is better than sacrifice. Okay. So he is like, you can still do good, those same things, without being a member of this organization. So they choose to ignore it because there may be a greater need, like the networking that they we were talking about, and also just feeling there's some amount of prominence and uplifting of it to some degree. You know, you're getting attention, you're stepping. I remember having fun times stepping because I could dance, girl. I was getting down. And I can dance. Can't sing to save my life, but I can dance. And I think that there is a spiritual component, and it is like a little Marxism. I never thought of that, like what you said. I never thought of that, because you're in Marxism, you're supposed to not be think separately. You're not supposed to be an independent thinker. You're supposed to be just go along with the group, the herd thing, the group think. You know, because that's why black conservatives get so much heat. Why you a what? I never forget the time I went to the local polling station near my house, and the question was asked, what party or something. He said, it was an older black man. I said, Republican. Girl, you should have seen the look on his face.
I got on pearls today. He probably was clutching, like, say what now?
But
What you mean? You are not supposed to identify that way.
That's what they say, but they talking about, you cooning and all that kind of stuff. I'm just, well, call me.
It'd be interesting for them to call me a coon to my face. I'm just, I'm Southernized, but I'm really not Southern Belle-ish. I'm married to a Southern man. I've learned so many Southern sensibilities, but it's still a little gut of New York in me. I'd be like, you call me a what? Oh, okay. Just what we doing. No, seriously, we want to act, we want to act responsible and respectable. But I do think it's interesting that they will hurl names and accusations or throw rocks and hide their hands, as opposed to saying, why don't you just debate your ideas? If your ideas are so wonderful, why are you unwilling to debate them on their own merit? And
Right.
the reason why I brought up the Marxism connection is because when I started looking in history at so many of the prominent Black Americans that we were told were like our quote unquote leaders, even though we don't have the white community, they don't have leaders, right? But in the Black community, we do. So I started looking at Mary McLeod Bethune and Shirley Chisholm and all of these, Adam Clayton Powell, MLK, and I'm like, all of these, they were all Greek. They were all Greek Boule members, and I'm like, that can't be by mistake. That cannot be an accident. It's something, there's a connection there. And I think I might need to do a show on that. I didn't want to spend too much time on it, but I just thought it was an interesting connection.
You're right, because
Right,
Mary
yeah.
Bethune was a Delta, I think, and MLK was an Alpha.
Yeah, it's a huge connection to a lot of these individuals. W.E.B. Du Bois. Now, Booker T. Washington, he wasn't in any sort of Greek lettered fraternity at all, and I think that's interesting that he wasn't.
He's one of my favorites.
Booker T. That listen, if I could research and see if we are some kin, I would be a lot. I would love that. I love Booker T. Washington. I love his autobiography. But I want to transition just a little bit to tell people a little bit about your platform.
Okay.
Because YouTube, as you know, it is a grind.
It is
a
a grind.
grueling grind
Woof,
that
it's grueling.
requires tenacity, persistence, dedication, and stick-to-itiveness. And there's so many individuals out there. I'm not saying that to muddy the waters and to discourage people, but there are a lot of women or men out there like you and I who are like, you know what? I have a voice, I have something to say, and I want to start a platform. What advice would you give to them if they're wanting to use their voice to discuss politics or these social or cultural issues?
I would say definitely pick something that you're passionate about. I mean, I'm passionate about what I do because I'm passionate about the Lord. I'm passionate about politics, and just having my eyes opened and seeing the connections, because I had already been making certain connections in my mind, but not connecting the dots. But I would suggest you pick something, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be politics. It could be doing hair or cooking, something that you have passion for doing, that it is what you really love doing. It doesn't seem like work. I would say definitely do that, and just do it if you feel like there's something the Lord wants you to do, or if you just want to do it. And my channel focuses on Chat with Me, Linda B, does focus on politics and religion from a biblical perspective. I mean, I just in my commentary, you will hear me just spew out of scripture, and then I'll start talking about the demon rats and how nothing is based on God in that party. Like, I call them the God hating, child hating, woman hating, America hating party. And then I will list each of their policies that coincides with each of those statements. So I mean, yeah, so that's my channel, and I want to educate all Americans, but particularly Black Americans, because we're the ones that still, unfortunately, vote mostly Democrat. Now, this past election, President Trump dug into that Democrat stronghold quite a bit. So around only 70% of Black people voted for Kamala, maybe just a tad under, whereas before is usually in the 90s. It's usually in the 90% range. So yeah, I educate Black people. I call out certain things like this tribalism, that anytime it's a situation with a Black person and a white person, they automatically go this tribal route. No matter how awful of the act, there's this narrative they push around. They're ignoring, they're basing it on their sensitivity to skin color rather than right and wrong. Like, they're blinded by, and so you don't need people like that on a jury. Okay, they need to just don't serve on juries. Okay, right thinking people. And so my show really focuses a lot on Black people. It does. People that are Republican. I do videos on Byron Donalds. I did videos on Wesley Hunt, Carol Swain, Misha Maynor up in Atlanta, and others. And I talk about how the Democrats really use their favorite tool right now is using Black women. I've done a ton of videos on Fonnie Willis, Letitia James. They do that by design because they hide behind racism and misogyny. Because if you say something against that person, you must be a racist. You
Right, you
must,
can't just be a trash person with bad
yeah, just
character and
be
no
a trash
integrity.
person, right? I mean, that they do that on purpose. And then they don't even get the ones that are healthy looking and feminine. I don't want to keep talking about that, but all the ones on the left, if you look at the ones we just talked about, Jasmine Crockett with her wig not even glued down.
Listen, I don't know nothing about them lace fronts, but they look labor intensive. And I'm like, honey, you making way too much money to have that little ratty wig on your head. Like, just get you a new
Oh,
weave.
get you a good one.
I know this gonna sound bad, but I think we're always accused, and the accusation is always hurled at the conservative side of the political spectrum that we hate ourselves. And
Mm-mm.
I'm like, but we're the ones that are authentically showing up as ourselves to the best of our ability. I mean, there's a huge difference between conservative women and liberal women. I mean, it's rare that you're gonna find us with a big old blonde wig slapped up on our head. Like, we're like, no one believes that that's coming out. We're not doing that. We're just
When you
not doing
said
that.
that, when you said that, I thought about Joy Reid of MSNBC.
I'm like,
She's a dark skinned woman with that. She had on like a yellow hair. She looked like, it just looked ridiculous. You said you don't like Donald Trump, but you got his hair. I mean, really, it is ridiculous. And they always, if you look at the women on the left who they put forth, like you mentioned that one Democrat that is poised and articulate. They don't want that person up front. But on the conservative side, you have people that, like I say, Candace Owens, you have others that Carol Swain and others that are very articulate. Harris Faulkner on Fox News. We're look nice, got our hair, speaking poised, not ghetto, not doing all of those mannerisms and acting ridiculous and hitting people and assaulting people and using the F bomb. I mean, you don't see us acting that way.
no, you don't. But once again, like I said, I think they want to project an archetype. And the
Mm-hmm.
sad part about it is our women are adopting the very archetype that's being pushed on them to say this is who you should be more like. And
Mm-hmm.
I also thought it was interesting that so many, I don't know, I think so many Black women are being used as these useful tools, like you mentioned, Fonnie Willis, Letitia
Mm-hmm.
James.
Mm-hmm.
And it saddens me because I'm like, you know what, for this season, they're making these women feel as if they are the big dog and they are the man on top.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the house of cards comes crashing down, they leave these women to fend and to defend themselves, and their help is nowhere to be found. And you would think at some point that they would say, you know what, I'm not falling for the bait. My integrity,
Mm-hmm.
my character means more to me than some level of prominence or esteem that these Democrats are going to promise me. Let me just do this the right way. Do you think Black American women are suffering from um, this level of ambition that clouds our judgment to make wise decisions that are in our best interests? What do you think is at the heart of that?
I don't know. That's part of it, and also it might be that they're the Democrats. You know, they are the party of slavery. Okay, they use they yes, that's why we call it Democrat plantation. They use a black person. They'll pay them handsomely to take out the rest of the black people or to keep us subjugated. Okay, so that's how they've been able to do this. Because years ago, I said, wow, we've had a lot of rich black people, but why is the black community still, you know? And I used to always wonder, wait a minute, are they paying them handsomely not to do anything for black people? And people are inherently selfish, so they're going to be looking out for them. Well, I get paid to act a fool out here and make sure I'm not really helping you. Look at the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson. He has really, the mayor, now she's the former mayor, Tiffany Henyard of Dalton, Village of Dalton. She acted, as we say in the South, a straight fool. So I think they're using money and prominence to get them to do things that they should not do. And because they want that so bad, they're not thinking about the totality of everything. They just have tunnel vision, and they're just like, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be known as the one who took him down. And Letitia James, yeah,
She's
that
back.
big Tish,
Big Tish is what they call her.
big Tish, she's got so many skeletons in that closet of hers. They're just coming out big time.
She's gonna
Seriously.
go down with the ship. She's the
Mhm.
type of prideful, arrogant person that they're going to be hauling her off to jail in handcuffs, and she's still going to be saying these allegations are baseless. Like
They're baseless.
she's going to
They're
go down with
baseless.
the ship and assert her innocence, even if they're going to have her on camera. It's just the willful arrogance and the
Mhm.
pride that is always going to be the downfall. And so I was just curious as to what you thought about those things. But Linda, tell my audience, how can they learn more about you? What do you have on the horizon? As your bio tells us, you're into screenwriting, and I'm super interested in hearing about that. Before we go, tell us a little bit about what you are probably working on or what you have in the future and how we can go and learn more about you.
Well, first of all, you can start going to my YouTube channel, Chat with me, Linda B. I'm also on X, but on X, had a little trouble with my X account, but you can find me Linda B Podcast on X, Linda B Podcast. And you can find out more about me. I have a website. Into acting and screenwriting, and you can go to thereallindabentley.com, thereallindabentley.com, and also they can email me, chat with me, lindab@gmail.com. But I talk a lot about a lot of different things on my YouTube channel, and yeah, I go, you know, I just talk about anything. I might just go off on a rant. I mean, it's just I just start talking, and I'm like, y'all, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to start preaching. But yeah, what I have on the horizon is, before we got on this call, I am working on a show, a 1 hour TV drama. I started it, wrote it, working on it right now, and we're working on funding. It's called Liz Town. And it is a 1 hour TV drama about the first Black female mayor of a small Southern town, and it stars me. And we're trying to get funding for that right now. Okay. And so if you want to learn more about that, you can, let me see, you can go to The Real Linda Bentley on Instagram and find out more about that. So it's just a lot that I got going on. I want to write a book eventually, but I got to start off with this show first. I don't want to tie myself down too much because, like you say, YouTube is a grind. It is a grind. I don't have editors. I literally do everything myself, my thumbnails, my editing, uploading. I was trying to hurry up and get it done before I got on here. I still got to upload one more video, and I do lives quite frequently. But yeah, I would love for your subscribers to check me out on YouTube as Chat with me, Linda B, and they can get to learn even more about me.
Right. I try to tell people, it looks fun and glamorous on that side of the camera,
Oh yeah.
but like Linda B, the editing, the thumbnails, the titles, the upload schedule, going
Mhm.
live when you like, I don't feel like going live today.
I know.
It's it
Oh,
it's a part
sometimes I
of the
do not
grind.
want to.
Right. There's some, listen, unlike you, I just be like, listen, I ain't going live on Friday. I'm telling y'all today, I'm not going live on Friday. I already know, because I don't want to burn out.
Mhm.
And so that is one of my biggest fears, is that I will be too ambitious and then eventually burn out before things really get popping. So we
Mhm.
try to find a healthy balance, but I applaud any content creator or YouTuber that's consistently pushing past those plateaus, because you will plateau. You have
Mhm.
to push past the plateaus. Your audience, your tribe, they will find you. But you do have to feed the beast, which is
Mhm.
why collaborations like this are super important. I want you guys to go over to Chat with Me, Linda B. Go to her channel, subscribe, click the notification bell. Linda drops way more content probably than I do. And so you will be greatly edified, educated, transformed, and challenged when you watch her content. And I just think it's really good for us to collaborate like this, because when you don't, some people, they'll never know that there are other people out here,
Mhm.
in the trenches, in the fight, doing the same thing with the same goal in mind. So I'm just grateful that I've had the honor to sit down with you today, Linda B.
I am honored to be on your show. Like I say, I watch you, I watch Vince a lot. He is just, I mean, when you were on his show, I watched it. He a special kind of person. And you said it yourself, it takes a lot to deal with you long term.
It does. It does. I mean, I am grateful for the privilege of managing the brand. But he is incredibly temperamental,
Mhm.
and it take a special kind of person. I was just like, oh, okay. I did not know he is very picky and particular about the things that is out. And so, yes, it has sharpened me greatly. It has made me a better content creator. It has made me a better business owner. It's a great budding friendship. But it is not without bumps, bruises, scars, and headaches. Okay, love you, Vince, and I'm just saying.
Vince, you difficult sometimes, Vince.
He will tell you, he'll say extraordinarily difficult. Those would
Ooh,
be his words. He would say extraordinarily difficult. What about it?
what about it?
Hard. He's a hard man. It's a hard. That's a hard man. But you know what? They don't make them like that, and I think
Mhm.
so many of us culturally are a little soft because we
Mhm.
don't have enough of that, and so
Mhm.
definitely to build some character.
And I watch from watching you guys, you know how sharp he's sharp as a tack, as we say in Georgia. When he gets on screen, he be like, the suit is different every time. I said, go on, Vince Everett.
Casket sharp.
Ellison. And then I look at you, you sharp. I said, dang, I gotta step my game up. I
Vince
was
made
waiting.
me step my game up. He was like,
I watch y'all and I stepped my game up. I used to wear t-shirts and a hat, a little cap. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I gotta get my hair done, get my
let me
little
tell you.
my little laid down a little bit, little gel down there, get it colored.
This is the inside track. I was the same way. And when I tell you he a hard person to work for, he said, all right, now, I love you. This gonna hurt. This gonna sting a little bit. Don't let me see you up on that camera with no jean jacket and no t-shirt on ever again. I was like, what's wrong with my t-shirt? He's looking at me like, we're not doing that. I was like, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. He was like, because you get to step the game up. I was like, oh, okay, so that's where that came from. And then
Mhm.
you're saying you saw and was like, I got to step a game up. So
I
listen,
saw this. I said, I got to step my game up. I said, oh, I got to be cute. I got to get my hair done. And I got my little jacket. I'm People are always commenting on my outfit. I'm like, I got to step my game up. I got to make sure my nails are situated because when I talk, I use my hands. It's part of it. It's not everything, but it's
It's not.
the totality of it. It's
Right.
your brand. It's your brand. I mean, what you're
Right.
presenting, and we want to. And part of me is like I want to destroy all the horrible stereotypes about Black women. When I go outside, I make sure my hair done. I got makeup on. No, I am not stepping out here without
Not doing
lotion
bonnets and slippers.
up my feet and I gotta be.
Have
you
you been
know,
kicking flour? Just ashy.
I can't do it, girl. I make sure I got my lotion on. I'm smelling good and I'm pleasant.
Yeah. See, ladies, it matters. And none of us have arrived. We are constantly evolving and just trying to step it up because we represent the culture. We really do. And like
Mhm.
Linda B said, it's not everything. It is a very small component. Either the content is good or it's not.
Mhm.
However, it does add just a little bit of Laurie's on the content if we're pleasant and pleasing to look at, and we're not out here with bonnets and slippers on.
I see that so much. I just want to snatch some of these young folks.
Snatch
Like
them.
the mama, just snatch them. Take that bonnet off your head.
My mama still snatch. My mama got dementia, and she will still snatch me. Like, are your knees ashy? Did you
Oh,
not? That's the worst when you are when you closer to 50 than 40, and your mama look at your ankles or she look at your elbows, and she be like, mm. Now at this stage, she won't say nothing. This is what my mama do. She be like, I think you need this, and then just pass it to you. Be like,
my mother is the kind that if I've gained a few pounds, she will let me know that I've gained weight. And it's like I know it already. I really don't need anybody to point that out, but
my mama told me my knees was spreading. I said, what? She was like, I mean, I'm just saying, they just your knees look a little wide.
Oh Lord. Older people do that. They just do that. And I go to the gym right now. I'm trying to not eat so much because that's one of my favorite things to do. But I go to the gym quite frequently and go walking, and I'm trying to keep
Listen,
it
that's
toned.
all we can do is try. I applaud you. Girl, I'll be praying for you on your strength training journey because we all need it. And I'm trying to reverse age. So that means I got to hit the weights and get the hydration up. We have to do all the things. So
Mhm, mhm.
listen, I'm just so grateful that we had this time together. My audience, you can find Linda B right here on YouTube. Chat with me, Linda B. Amazing content creator, sister in the Lord, and American patriot. Until next time, you
Yes.
guys, we love you with the love of the Lord. Grace and peace.